Today we are going to discuss about basics of computers. As we know, computers are generally of two types, that is digital computers and analog computers. A digital computer makes the processing of numbers like ones and zeros, whereas analog computer processes analog signals or the continuous quantity signals. So whenever we say computer, the digital pattern comes to our mind. See, analog computers are designed for specific purposes or applications like engineering, scientific purposes, etc. Computers are one of the most powerful tools which is used in day-to-day life. As we know, a computer is a electronic device or computer is a programmable machine. So computer means we usually say by default we say about the digital computer. So a digital computer is an electronic device or a programmable machine. Like human beings, we need food for our work and release energy. For processing and giving favorable information for the user, computer needs some amount of energy in the form of data. Data means the raw facts and figures which are processed. That processed raw facts or the facts, processed facts and informations that we call data, it will be given into the computer or input into the computer using certain devices like keyboard, mouse, microphone, graphic tablet or barcoder, etc. Computer fetches these informations or data using the input device and it stores and processes the data according to the instructions given to it, and then it gives the output in the form of information using the output devices like monitors or printers, etc. So a computer needs the input or is given the input data. It stores and processes according to the instructions and the output is given. And all these things are controlled and generates the output. Now, what are the importance or characteristics of computers which finds very useful for human being in the daily life? Like speed, accuracy, reliability, versatility, storage capacity. We can just assume the difference between a computer and a calculator. Now, what are the basic parts of a computer? As we told, a computer needs an input unit, it needs an output device, and it needs a CPU, central processing unit. Central processing unit consists of control unit, memory, and arithmetic logical unit. Okay, it consists of arithmetic logic unit, control unit, and memory. All these three together we call it as CPU. So input unit, CPU, and the output unit. And arithmetic logic unit is the brain of the computer. And memory needs all the input data, instructions, information should be stored in memory, which is of basically two types, that is primary memory and the secondary memory. The CPU will execute instructions according to be given by the input device, which is feeding the program and data to the computer. And memory is the storage device for storing programs, data, and results. And after that, the output device displays or prints the program or data or the result according to the instruction given to the computer. Okay. Now we know memory is a very essential component of a digital computer used for storing program, data, and results. And a computer uses a number of memory devices of different technologies. For example, semiconductor memory, magnetic memory, optical memory, etc. CPU is also a semiconductor device and it operates at a very high speed. And one of the main things which affects the operation of a computer is speed mismatch or the speed of a CPU and memory. See, whenever CPU wants the instructions or data, it should be ready with there. If the memory is very slow, CPU need to wait for this data and instructions, and this will reduce the processing speed of the computer. To match the speed of the CPU very fast with respect to that of semiconductor memory, we can say a type of memory is directly connected to CPU, that is known as cache memory. Okay, so all these things we will be learning in detail. So we can say that semiconductor memory is a static device. It is a faster, smaller in size and lighter in weight, consumes less power compared to other type of memory devices. The main memory of the computer system is volatile. Cache memory is also volatile and it holds informations like programs, data, and results as long as power supply is on. So therefore, to store programs, data, results, and for other operating system, a computer must have a permanent type of memory. So a permanent memory like a magnetic or optical disk, they were used as a third level of memory. And the memory which stores information permanently is known as auxiliary memory or secondary memory. Hard disk or magnetic or optical disk, etc., are cheaper than semiconductor memories, and they are quite suitable for secondary memories, which is a mass storage device. The secondary memory is a mass storage device. Okay. Now, coming back to our CPU and ALU, we know ALU is arithmetic logical unit. Arithmetic means it can perform addition, subtraction, differentials, and logical means greater than and less than. While processing data temporarily, if we want to store data, we can use registers. Okay. And the control unit will tell the ALU what all operations has to be performed or what all instructions are given from the or feed into the computer. Okay. Now the computer devices like keyboard, mouse, etc. we can see, feel and touch. That is known as hardware. And set of the instructions that are inside the computer for doing or processing the informations or data, they are known as software. Both hardware and software, they are required for a proper functioning of a computer. And the software, these sometimes certain softwares are written for performing specific tasks like in the building system, in a hotel management system, etc. They are known as application software. And some of the softwares which will control overall operation of the system, that is known as system software like Windows, Unix, etc. Coming to the operating system, see, if operating system is acting as an interface between this user and the hardware. See, between the software and hardware, there is an interface. Hardware is a CPU, RAM, and input-output devices, where software we have already told. See, users are working on the programs, and the interface between the software and the hardware is done by the operating system, and it controls all of the executions of all kinds of programs of much importance. The functions of the operating system have memory management, processor management, device management, etc. See, we are having primary memory or the main memory, and which is a large array of words and having its own addresses. And this is a fast storage, and this can be directly accessed by CPU. And for the memory management, operating system has to keep track of the primary memory. That is what part of it is to be used by whom and which has not should be used. That is allocation and deallocation of memories. Then coming to the processor management, that is the operating system should decide which process should be given priority and what is the time. That is traffic controller. And coming to the device management, it should decide, allocate, deallocate devices in a very efficient manner. Now coming to the file management and other important activities like security, control over system performance, all these data or coordination between softwares and users, all these coordinations are done by the operating system. So operating system as such, we can say it is a system of software which may be viewed as a collection of software consisting of procedures for operating the computer. It is an interface between user and computer. What are the types of computer memory? As I just mentioned a few minutes before, it is having mainly primary memory and secondary memory. Primary memory is a RAM, random access memory, and read-only memory, which is non-volatile. And RAM is of two types, static RAM and dynamic RAM, that is programmable, erasable, and electrically erasable prompts. Secondary, we are not dealing it much seriously at present. Still, we have told about the auxiliary memory and the secondary memories. Okay. Backup memory is also needed for a computer system. It is used to store the copy of important programs such as operating system, compiler, application programs, etc. And these are usually loaded in the secondary memory. And copies are kept as backup memory so that they can be reloaded into the secondary memory in case if the programs stored in a secondary memory are lost or corrupted. For example, floppy disk, detachable hard disk, magnetic disk. Backup memory is a removable memory. Okay. And see, data and some other informations can also be stored in backup memory. Okay. Now, what are the semiconductor memories? Let us see about a RAM and ROM. That is a read-only memory and about random access memory and read-only memory. Before that, let's see what is a primary memory and the main memory. See, the random access memories or RAMs are used as a read or write memory of a computer. They are volatile memory, whereas ROM or read-only memory is a permanent type of memory. Okay, this random access memory, any memory location So any memory locations uh, can be accessed by in a random way without going through any other locations. So the access time in the RAM is same for each and every memory location. Since informations can be written into or read from RAM, they are used as a read and write memory of a computer system. Okay. Now, coming to RAM is a volatile memory and it stores information as long as power is supplied to it, and its contents are lost when power supply is switched off or is interrupted, and user has to reload his programs and data when power supply is resumed. Okay, and it is having static RAM and dynamic RAM. Now we are having a ROM also. ROM is also read-only memory. It is a non-volatile memory storing information that is permanently. Its contents are not lost when power supply is switched off. And it is not accessible to user also. Hence, we cannot write anything to ROM. It is used to store permanent or fixed programs. ROM is used to storing initializing programs of a computer like microcodes, supervisory programs, etc. But it is cost effective for high volume production because of high cost for preparing a mask needed for writing desired contents into ROM. It is simple, cheap and dense, and it uses one transistor memory cell. Now coming to different types of programmable read-only memory, the user can write a program, data or any kind of information permanently into a PROM, that is programmable read-only memory. Okay, and because the proms are only once programmable, user can write his program or data into prom only once, and it needs a special equipment called prom programmer for writing the programs into prom. And it is found in almost standard processor kits, and universal prom programmer is also available, which is more powerful and provide greater facilities and accepts varieties of proms. Now next is the erasable programmable read-only memory. Its contents can be erased and can be reprogrammed more than once. To erase its contents, it is exposed to high intensity shortwave ultraviolet light for about 20 minutes. And for facilitating, the chips are packed in a package which has a transparent window. Okay, for this also we need an EEPROM eraser available for erasing contents, entire contents in that purpose. But disadvantage is that it has to be this EEPROM chip has to be taken out from system board and placed in an EEPROM eraser's chamber. But EEPROMs are cheap and reliable and can be used widely to store programs, data or any kind of information which are permanent but needs updating. Okay. They have to be modified. EEPROMs are more economical compared with that of PROM. Compared with PROM, EEPROM is very economical. Now coming to E-square PROM or electrically erasable PROMs. They are also called as electrically alterable ROM, that is EA-ROM. They need not be removed from the motherboard as for the EEPROMs, but it is a byte erasable. That is, selectively we can erase the contents. That is very useful also. And its contents can be erased and programmed in the system board itself. Byte by byte we can do it. This one of the most disadvantages is for erasing. We need different voltages. For erasing, writing and reading and storing information, we need different voltages. That means it uses a complex memory cell structure, and it has low density, but also it has a high cost and lower reliability. But it is very useful because we can erase according to our need. Now coming to the flash memory, it is electrically erasable and reprogrammable. It is electrically erasable and reprogrammable, and it is non-volatile memory. Okay, flash memory uses one transistor memory cell. It has a high packaging density, lower cost and high reliability. And it is having a control gate and a floating gate. Its structure is little bit difficult. And in E-square PROMs or electrically erasable PROM, it is possible to read and write the content of a single cell. And the flash memory, it is possible to read the content of a single cell, but not possible to write in a single cell. It allows to write an entire block of a cell. Okay. And now we can also say that The flash memory can be erased or reprogrammed on the system board itself, and it possesses the feature of quick pulse programming. So that is why flash memory name has been given due to its fast reprogramming capability, and it is used for storing codes. Conventional E square prompts are used for storing parameters only. Okay, now coming to the difference between this static ROMs and dynamic ROM, as we have already told. See, the static ROM retains the stored information as long as power supply is on, whereas dynamic ROM or DRAM loses its stored information in few milliseconds even though power supply is on. So, it is a form of a DRAM stores information in the form of a charge on a capacitor. So what happens is it will leak out in a very short time. So the contents must be periodically refreshed by restoring the charge to that capacitor to its full value, and therefore it requires a refreshing and control circuitry. A DRAM needs only one transistor per memory cell, and its packing density is high. A DRAM consumes less power, and SRAM uses conventional flip-flop containing two cross-coupled inverters to store the binary bits ones and zeros. There are synchronous DRAMs also, synchronous graphic RAM, then double data rate, that is advancement over synchronous DRAM. All such things are there. Now coming to the auxiliary or the secondary memory, we have already told it consists of slow and expensive devices, but it is very important, and it is having a magnetic memory, that's a permanent memory. It's not volatile. It is magnetic memory is also used as a secondary memory or backup memory, and some of the magnetic memory used in today's computer system are hard disk, magnetic tape, etc. And hard disk are actually online storage device. We will study in detail about all these things in the next video. So we can say that cache memory is a very fast memory which is attached to the CPU, providing high-speed data access to the program and stores the frequently used computer programs in the application. These are the mainly basic applications or basic, what do you mean by a computer, that is covered in this video, like input unit, memory, CPU, control unit, ALU, output unit, then RAM and ROM, difference between them, what are the different types of ROM or different types of RAM, and what is an operating system and a cache memory. Thank you.